Hey everybody, it's Dave Neal here, stand-up comic, host of the Rush Hour podcast. I have a late night Monday night video. Actually, right now it's Tuesday morning, but I've got an update here. Rolling Stones released this article regarding Blake Lively and the new sanctions she is seeking against seriously everybody except Justin Baldoni, but everybody on Baldoni's side, including all of the lawyers and some of the different folks that are making claims that now she's saying are really just there to make a mockery of the court. So I'm going to share what her lawyers are saying through this Rolling Stones article. And I have more actually. So I just released the Tuesday morning podcast episode. It's out now. It discusses the Blake Lively bombshell move and all the other pop culture news. So that's out right now on audio. You'll get it on video at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. But in the meantime, let's go to this article here. So Blake Lively's attorneys filed a motion seeking sanctions and accused Baldoni's collaborators of making baseless claims. Again, folks think this is very rich considering she used a sham lawsuit, the Van Zandt subpoena, to acquire information from Jennifer Abel from Stephanie Jones, who had previously hired Jennifer Abel. They were able to circumvent the sort of confidentiality agreements through this subpoena, then withdrew it. So there's a lot of sham going on right now from the Blake Lively side, but it seems as though she's going on the attack to possibly force a settlement. That's one reason they say they do these sanctions, to say we're going to try to force the court to put all this pressure on your side, but hey, we'll let go of this if we can just work out a settlement. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen at all, but let's go into this article right here. Just read the entire thing with you guys, right? It's a nice late night. If you're checking this out, hit the like button. Why not? It helps the channel. Blake Lively's lawyers filed a motion on Monday seeking sanctions against Justin Baldoni's team, accusing his lawyers and collaborators of making frivolous claims about the actress. In the filing obtained by Rolling Stone, Lively requests sanctions in the form of attorney's fees and costs incurred by the actress, as well as a formal reprimand for the filing of baseless claims as a means of harassing Miss Lively and gaining favor in the court of public opinion. Lively's motion named Steve Sarowitz, Jamie Heath, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, and their legal teams. Lively's attorneys denounced the ghoulish taunt made by her It Ends With Us co-stars team earlier this month, referring to Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman's suggestion in a statement to People to hold Lively's upcoming deposition at Madison Square Garden and sell tickets or stream it. Now, of course, Brian Friedman said right after that we can donate the money to domestic violence and whatnot, but she seemingly left that out of her sanctions. Her attorneys also pointed out that Brian Friedman previously filed 2 letters in an affidavit so inflammatory and improper that they were stricken from the record, further accusing Baldoni's lawyer of repeatedly using the press to target Miss Lively. The motion referred to Brian Friedman's claim last week that the actress' legal team had attempted to extort a public statement out of Taylor Swift amid the ongoing legal battle between Lively and Baldoni. Now, the reason that they're not sharing here, why that was kicked off of the docket, isn't that they believe Brian Friedman wasn't telling the truth. It's that it has to do with a lawsuit that's taking place in D.C. That's the lawsuit that they have against, the subpoena to Taylor Swift's legal teams in D.C. So it's not necessarily that information doesn't have anything to do with this case, although you could argue that this is why Blake Lively's in part doing these sanctions. Now, can they put a Rule 11 sanctions on her Rule 11 sanctions? I don't know if that can happen. But I will say, after you talk around to a bunch of lawyers and leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. It seems as though this is one of those things you don't do recklessly, this Rule 11 sanctions. It's a big deal to accuse the other side's legal representatives of misusing their law degree, really. That's what they're being accused of, misusing it to file lawsuits that have no purpose. Those are the accusations. In a statement to Rolling Stone, Lively's attorneys, Ezra Hudson and Mike Gottlieb, said, "If you want to know why Justin Baldoni's lawyer pulled his latest inflammatory and defamatory media stunt, It might be because he knew that both he and his clients were about to be hit with sanctions motions based on his reckless decision to file multiple frivolous claims in federal court. So what you're telling me is it doesn't look like Ezra Hudson and Michael Gottlieb will be invited to the Brian Friedman summer barbecue because the gloves have come off. The lawyers added, you can't file lawsuits in federal court that have no basis in law or fact to create a harassing media narrative, or in other words, their strategy from day one. The Baldoni legal team received notice of their sanctionable behavior weeks ago, but doubled down rather than withdrawing their frivolous and harassing claims. Now they'll face the consequences of treating federal court like a media playground. Now, I don't know Brian Friedman personally. We have emailed back and forth. I'm trying to get him on the show. Like a good interview here. Old B-Man, power attorney, if you want to come on, let's do it. But I will say this. I don't think it's too often that a lawyer kind of crosses that line. But Brian Friedman, I mean, he has litigated this through the press in a way. I mean, knowing every motion and every letter to the judge and all of that will get picked up. I mean, this is the same thing that happened with the Bachelor Clayton Eckerd case, where we were picking up everything that was being said and, running with it because there was a media interest in feasting on the story. So we know that's the case. But is that illegal to do if he believes that it belongs in the court? As far as this Taylor Swift stuff goes, it's my guess, uneducated mind you, it's my guess that Blake Lively's side is trying to get ahead of this because this will be the, SEO that they use to then sort of say that this Taylor Swift stuff was nonsense, so that when they actually do it through the proper channels, the Taylor Swift extortion claim, maybe they're hoping that this claim will be the one that people read instead of the other. I don't know. It sounds a little like tinfoil hat here, but let's continue. So they say you can't be doing this. It's not a playground. A representative for Baldoni did not immediately respond and to Rolling Stone's request for comments. Lively and Baldoni have been entangled in the feud. All right, court goes to trial March 2026. A subpoena recently roped Swift into the legal drama. The singer's spokesperson slammed the subpoena, telling Rolling Stone at the time that Swift's connection to the It Ends With Us controversy was limited to licensing one song. Lawyers for Swift asked the court to throw out the subpoena, calling it an abuse of the discovery process meant to distract from the case. So while that's how they felt about the subpoena, Brian Friedman said, in part with the affidavit he attached, that he doesn't need all of this information from Taylor Swift. He just needs that email that shows, and again, according to Brian Friedman, he swears in an affidavit he has a source that is telling him this. So in that case, I would reject the idea that it's frivolous, that Blake Lively is trying to extort Taylor Swift. I mean, it's absolutely insane, isn't it? So again, the comments are rolling in, and folks, obviously in the It Ends With Lawsuits subreddit are more on the Justin Baldoni side, although I think most people are at this point. They say, I must say, for the very real litigators that Hudson and Gottlieb are, they sure are on a full-on PR campaign right now. Friedman hasn't said anything publicly. Yeah, again, we haven't heard much from Brian Friedman. It could be said they made the motion for sanctions after the Van sham was exposed. They really are projecting at this point. They sent a letter to notify Wayfarer after April 23rd, so after Van Zandt, and then after April 28th, after the Venable subpoena was sent, they bombarded the docket with motions along with Sloan and Jones. And now, obviously, the timing for these sanction motions is conveniently right after they've been accused of career-ending type of allegations. Yeah, that is true. I mean, those allegations against them are pretty bad. So is this a way of flooding the zone, as it were? Someone said, I thought Blake's legal team was above the PR thing because they Harvey Ivy League lawyers. Above the PR thing, but not above sham lawsuits and extortion, apparently. Yeah. Is there, and again, this is what it really comes down to, because if you're Brian Friedman, you kind of have to produce that source right now. Now, obviously, the Blake Lively, Taylor Swift thing, it's almost, I don't want to call it tertiary, it's just separate, right? There's a lot going on. There's the idea of, did Baldoni harass Blake Lively, right? That's certainly information. But you have to, it's not just for media purposes that you want to feast on the Blake Lively Taylor Swift thing, because if Blake Lively is using Taylor Swift to try to intimidate Justin Baldoni, Khaleesi and the Dragons, but Benny and the Jets, Khaleesi and the Dragons, doesn't really roll off the tongue. But if she's doing that, and Taylor Swift wanted nothing to do with it, if Blake Lively's claiming that Taylor Swift didn't want to work with a composer, so we had to get him fired. If she's doing all these things privately, pulling all these secret levers, and now we're exposing all of it, isn't that important to this trial? All of the different things, the actionable steps that Blake Lively will take to try to ruin somebody else. I mean, it seems that way to me. And again, I'm no expert, but I do know that Brian Friedman, sort of bringing the affidavit into the docket when it belongs in the DC verse, the Wayfarer lawsuit, which is slightly different. I don't know. Bring it in. Merge them all. I want make some Pangea of lawsuits. Either way, there's your update. I'm going to continue covering this on the Morning Rush. As I said before, you can get the link to that, or just search Dave Neal Rush Hour if you want the audio or video, or the audio, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else. That's up right now, so go check out the audio. Otherwise, the video for that will drop at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. There's so much to get into. We don't have enough hours in the day. There's so much to get into. So I'm going to go get some rest. But there's your super late night update for you, or early morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. I'm going to go catch some sleep, but we'll be back with more in a little bit.